The day I graduated should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became the day my own family quietly pushed me out of theirs. I still remember standing outside the auditorium in my graduation gown, holding my diploma with tears of joy in my eyes. Other families were hugging, taking pictures, laughing together. Mine looked uncomfortable. My father barely smiled, my stepmother avoided looking at me. My younger stepbrother, Ryan, was already talking about the expensive graduation party they had planned for him next year. Then my dad handed me a small white envelope. "For your future," he said. I smiled, thinking it might be money, or maybe the keys to an apartment. Instead, inside was a one-way plane ticket. No return, no hotel reservation, no message, just a ticket to another state. I looked at him, confused. "Dad, what is this?" He folded his arms. "It's time you learned to stand on your own." I forced a smile. I thought, maybe we'd celebrate together first. "There isn't anything to celebrate," my stepmother interrupted. "You've always wanted independence." Ryan laughed under his breath. "Guess you're finally getting it." My chest tightened. I had worked 2 jobs while studying full-time. I graduated with honors. I never asked them for money. In fact, I had secretly paid many household bills when Dad's business struggled. But they never knew that. Or maybe they never cared. Dad looked around, making sure nobody was listening. "We've decided it's better if you start your life somewhere else." "You're serious?" He nodded. "The flight leaves tonight." I couldn't believe it. Not because they wanted me gone, because they had planned this for months without telling me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. Instead, I hugged my diploma tighter. "If that's what you want," Dad simply replied, "Good luck." As I walked away carrying nothing but one suitcase and a broken heart, I heard my stepmother whisper, "Finally." Those single words hurt more than the ticket itself. But what none of them knew, that ticket wasn't sending a helpless daughter away. It was sending away the only person protecting their future. Because while everyone believed I was just another graduate searching for a job, I had been quietly building something they couldn't even imagine. And before that plane landed, everything was about to change. People often ask how someone becomes successful. For me, it started with loneliness. Years before graduation, while everyone thought I spent nights studying in the library, I was actually building an online software company with 2 classmates. We developed business tools for small companies. The first year was difficult. The second year was exhausting. By the 3rd year, investors began calling. One investor offered us an amount so large, I honestly thought it was a mistake. We accepted. Within months, our company expanded across several countries. My shares alone were worth hundreds of millions. I never told my family. Not because I wanted to hide it forever. I wanted to surprise my father after graduation. I dreamed about paying off his debts, buying him the home he always wanted, and finally hearing him say, "I'm proud of you." Instead, he gave me a one-way ticket. As my plane took off that evening, I stared through the window while silent tears rolled down my face. It wasn't the money that hurt. It was realizing they had already decided I wasn't part of their future. A week later, I settled into my new city. I purchased a small apartment, or at least, that's what everyone thought. In reality, I had quietly purchased the entire luxury building through one of my investment companies. No one knew. I preferred it that way. Then one afternoon my phone rang. It was an old family friend. "Emily, your dad's company is collapsing." I stayed silent. Apparently, Dad had trusted Ryan with major financial decisions. Ryan invested in risky projects, ignored warnings, and signed contracts he didn't understand. Within months, the business was drowning. Suppliers stopped delivering. Employees resigned. Loans piled up. The same people who celebrated sending me away were now desperately searching for help. Still, nobody called me, until one evening, my phone lit up. "Dad," I answered. His voice sounded older. "We need to talk." There was no apology, no concern about how I had survived. Just those 4 words. I calmly replied, "I'm listening." He hesitated. "I heard you've done well." "I've been blessed. We're facing some difficulties." I waited. Finally, he asked, "Can you help us?" For the first time in my life, the silence belonged to me. A week later, I flew back home. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted answers. Dad invited me into the same dining room where I had once eaten alone, while everyone else laughed together. Nothing had changed, except me. Ryan avoided eye contact. My stepmother suddenly smiled, as if we had always been close. Dad finally spoke. We made mistakes. I looked at him. Mistakes or choices? No one answered. He explained the business was nearly bankrupt. Creditors were waiting. Employees feared losing their jobs. Their home might soon be sold. Then he quietly asked, "Can you invest?" I looked around the room. Every corner reminded me of the girl who spent years trying to earn love that was never freely given. Then I placed a folder on the table. Inside were legal documents. Dad opened them slowly. His eyes widened. "What is this?" "I already bought your company's debts." Ryan looked confused. My stepmother turned pale. Dad whispered, "You own the company?" I nodded. Since last week, the room fell completely silent. "I could close everything tomorrow," I said calmly, "but hundreds of innocent employees would suffer." Dad lowered his head. For the first time, I saw genuine regret. Not because I became wealthy, because he finally realized what he had thrown away. I offered him a new contract. He could remain as an advisor. Ryan would no longer manage finances. Every employee would keep their job. The company would receive fresh investment under one condition: we treat people with respect. Dad signed without arguing. As I stood to leave, he quietly said, "I was wrong." Those 3 words were something I had waited years to hear. But strangely, they no longer healed me. Healing had already happened while building a life without their approval. Months later, the company became profitable again. Employees thanked the new leadership. Customers returned. The business survived. But this time, it was built on honesty instead of pride. People sometimes think the greatest revenge is watching those who hurt you lose everything. I disagree. The greatest revenge is becoming someone they never believed you could become. They gave me a one-way ticket because they thought they were sending away their biggest burden. Instead, they sent away the person who would one day save everything they almost destroyed. And that day, they finally understood something money can never buy. Respect, trust, and love should never depend on success. Because by the time people recognize your true worth, you may have already learned to live without their approval.